Hey guys, and welcome back to the Dmax build series, where today we're continuing our preparations on the Dmax to get it ready for our lap around Australia next year with a very important addition to the front of the vehicle. We're of course talking about a winch because up until now there's been a big empty space inside my bull bar just waiting to be utilised. So let's head over to the bench and check out what we're going to be installing. So this is it. This is my brand new PDX MK4 winch from Ultra Winch. It's the 12,000 pound model, and I am so excited to get this installed on the Dmax. Ultra Winch has also hooked us up with a bit of a discount code, so if you're in the market for a winch, check the description down below for the latest discount code to save 5%. Now, I do want to say straight off the bat that I am pretty new to winches. I've never had one installed on any of my cars. So I guess the idea behind this video is to show you that if I can do it in my garage at home with basic tools and no experience, then you can too. That being said, I have done a ton of research into winches and how to install them over the past month or so to not come into this install completely blind, and I'll share all that with you as we go through the video. During my research, I've read a lot of positive things about Ultra Winch products, both the PDX MK4 and their earlier versions as well. And I also personally know some people who have had great experiences with them, such as Adam from Video Show Me How, who some of you might know. So that's really given me the confidence I need to run this in the Dmax and most likely rely on it pretty heavily during our lap around Australia next year. So this winch comes with a ton of different bits and pieces. This box is absolutely full to the limit. So let me quickly lay everything out on the bench and I'll run you through everything you get with the Ultra Winch PDX MK4. Alrighty, let's start with the most important part, the winch itself, which I must say feels extremely solid as you'd want being a winch, and it weighs just over 20 kilos. Starting on the left, we find our input section here with color-coded connections for all our wiring, and the fourth piece of that puzzle is on the back. That's our main earth point just there. And we also find a breather point just here, which is such a fantastic idea. The reason most winches fail is due to water or mud kind of getting inside them and wreaking havoc, but with this we can run that breather hose somewhere protected, probably within the engine bay, and never have to worry about that. And they also include the full breather hose kit as well to make that install nice and easy. In the center, we find our 25-meter synthetic winch rope all installed and ready to go. Although once the winch is installed, we will fully unroll that and then re-spool it under load, and also add our winch hook here. On the right-hand side, we find our main gearbox, and this clutch housing here can actually be rotated so your handle can face any of the four directions, depending on what works best for your setup. And there's just one bolt in each of those four corners there to undo to perform that rotation. For the Dmax though, I think this factory position right on top is going to work the best for me. Next up is our winch control box, which can either be installed directly on top of the winch, and they include a little bracket just there to do so, or you can install this somewhere else nearby, and there's actually a decent amount of length on these main cables, so you can really get that up somewhere else nearby, such as inside your bull bar wings, for example. It really depends on your particular setup as to where is going to be best to mount this. I think I will mount mine on top of the winch, but awesome that there's a bit of flexibility there. On the side of the control box is our input port for controlling the winch, and this was actually one of the things I was really excited about for the Ultra Winch when reading up on them online, because they actually include 3 different ways to control the winch. We get a wired remote control to operate the winch while we're standing somewhere near the vehicle. We get a momentary Carling style rocker switch to operate the winch while we're inside the vehicle. And we also get a wireless remote control included as standard. There's no receivers or anything to plug in. This is good to go straight out of the box. And it also automatically powers off after about 3 minutes of inactivity to A, save battery life, but also to prevent any mishaps if you forget to turn it off. The in-cab switch and the wired controller plug into the side of the control box here with a nice satisfying click. And so that you can run both the wired controller and the momentary switch at the same time, they also include this double adapter piece here that plugs into the side of the control box. You can then plug your in-cab switch into one of the outlets, and you've got another outlet spare for your wired controller. Also in the kit is our fair lead piece just here and our standard winch recovery hook, although we are taking things to the next level for this setup, and I'm actually going to be installing one of Ultra Winch's new Pro recovery hooks instead, which is designed to sit flush against that fair lead just like that when the winch is not in use, and it's red to match my recovery points. Alrighty, the last piece of the puzzle is the wiring, and this is something you should definitely pay careful attention to when selecting a winch, because they draw insane amounts of power, and having wiring that's properly gauged is important to handle that load safely. This wiring kit from Ultra Winch absolutely ticks that box, not only because it's some of the thickest wiring I've ever seen, 50 square millimeters throughout, but also because they've gone to the extra layer of adding this nice protective sheathing to every single cable in the whole kit to keep it safe. And from what I've seen online, that's something not a lot of companies are doing. The wiring kit also comes with this heavy duty isolator switch and bracket there as well to install somewhere under the bonnet, so when the winch is not in use, it doesn't have constant power. And of course, our kit also comes complete with some bolts to finish the installation. So as you can see, a very comprehensive kit, and I am excited to get this all installed. And the first step for me is going to be to install this control box on top of the winch like that, because I reckon it's going to be easier to do this now rather than when the winch is installed in the Dmax. But do keep in mind, you can also install this control box somewhere else nearby, depending on your particular setup. With the control box installed, it's on to the first stage of the wiring, which is as simple as matching up the colours, bolting each connector in place and adding the insulating boots. Moving across to the Dmax, I am extremely fortunate with my particular bull bar because I am able to install a winch from the front here without removing the entire bull bar, which honestly saves me so much time. So the next step for me is just to remove these small trim pieces from inside this kind of mouth section here and drop that bash plate underneath to access the winch cradle. Alrighty, got those trim pieces pulled out of the way and we're ready to get this winch installed in the Dmax. Now, most winches have a very similar bolt configuration to actually get them bolted into place, and so long as you have a proper winch cradle in your bull bar, like I do in my off-road animal bull bar here, you should just be able to plonk this in place and bolt it in without drilling any extra holes. And it's also worth mentioning that this particular winch can be mounted both feet down or feet forwards, depending on your setup. To install the breather, I'm just using an existing threaded hole under my bonnet to keep it protected and out of the way. As for the isolator switch, I've just made up a simple L bracket which attaches neatly to my fuel pre-filter assembly, so the switch is nice and easy to access. And the last step for the wiring is to connect it to the battery. Now, it's worth noting that Ultra Winch states you'll need a battery over 650 cranking amps to run this winch, which luckily mine is. I'm just turning the clutch switch on top of the winch to pull out a bit of winch rope, so it's easier to poke through the fair lead once that's installed. With the install complete, all that's left to do is put my bull bar back together and we're done. Alrighty, I am very excited. That winch is now fully installed in the Dmax and looking a treat. It took me around 6 or 7 hours to fully complete that install start to finish, but I reckon if I wasn't setting up cameras and lighting, that probably would have taken half that time. So pretty happy with that for a new person to projects like this. So definitely one you can have a go at doing yourself in your garage at home. Now I did decide not to run that wired switch into the cab of the Dmax because I just figured 99% of the time I'm probably going to be using that wireless controller, and if not, I do still have the option of reaching in and plugging in that wired controller to use that instead. So in the interest of avoiding any unnecessary wiring or switch panels in the Dmax, I figured I'd leave it off for now, but I can easily come back and add it down the track if I feel I need it. Now though, the only thing left to do is to give this a proper test run, so I better head off and find myself a tree. Okay, it is a brand new day and the last step for this winch installation is going to be to re-spool that winch rope under tension so it doesn't bind up on me the first time I go to use it. To do that, I've come down to the bush with an assortment of trees to pick and choose from, and all I'm going to do is fully unwind this winch rope until there's about 5 loops left on that drum, connected to a tree, which is one just in front of me here, and then essentially just pull the Dmax in to re-spool that winch rope under tension. Alrighty, that winch rope is now fully extended aside from about 4 or 5 loops still left on that drum there, which is pretty important to leave. It's now connected to a tree all the way down there. So the next step is I'm just going to turn this winch on using that main isolator switch under the bonnet. So now that winch is activated and ready to go. You'll notice my engine is running because these winches draw a lot of power. So very important to leave the engine running. I'm going to turn my remote control on now and pull the Dmax towards that tree. And that's all there is to it. Our winch is now ready for its first official use somewhere out in the bush. And don't forget to grab that discount code from the description down below if you're planning on picking up one of these winches for yourself. Now, before I wrap up today's video, I want to extend a very special thank you to the channel's latest Explorer tier member on Patreon. Stephen Harding, thank you so much for your support. It really goes a long way to keeping the channel going and it's massively appreciated. I hope this video has answered any questions you guys had about that Ultra Winch PDX MK4 winch and its whole installation procedure. But if not, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching this video and I'll catch you in the next one.